With 80% of the population clinging to limited coastal lands, Kosrae has unique climate change adaptation needs. Sea level rise has resulted in larger waves reaching the shoreline, exacerbating ongoing coastal change and erosion on Kosrae, leading to increased coastal flooding which threatens roadways, agriculture, and habitable dwellings. Subsequently, people have begun to plan their lives at a distance to the coast.
Just because of that storm, I try to move out. Because I don't want to stay there and something will happen to my family. So right now, my wife and my youngest son and my small friend are staying here. This is my temporary house. When I come over here, I think I feel safe instead of staying down there.
We also live in low-lying areas. Every time when there is warning on climate change or, tsunami warning, floodings, then we have to move from there. Usually we move up to higher elevation sites.
Kosrae's roads give people crucial access to higher ground. But the island's steep terrain can be difficult to penetrate, forcing roads to hug the coast in places. The steep topography also funnels runoff from torrential rains toward the coast. And where the rain and incoming tide converge, roads can become flooded and impassable.
80% of the people living along the coastal areas now experiencing the impacts of the climate change. While we're trying to improve or do some adaptation option, the only way we can think of is start relocating people to the higher grounds. But in doing so, we need to improve the infrastructure, meaning the road access to the higher grounds.
The Pacific Adaptation to Climate Change project in the Federated States of Micronesia has now climate-proofed a vital access way at Tapansak in the state of Kosrae. Located behind this mangrove forest, the new road threads its way between steep mountain streams and rising coastal waters.
So the work we're doing at the moment is changing all the culverts and drainage to withstand the rainfall and elevating the road to withstand the sea level rise.
In order to handle larger volumes of water, the culverts that channel major streams safely below the road have been increased to 36 inches. And together with an increase in elevation, the road has been significantly climate-proofed against high tides and heavy rains, allowing residents better access to schools, hospitals, markets, and farms.
There's over 50 landowners. Before the construction of the road, people have difficulty accessing to their farmlands and also transportation from their farm products to the markets. With the improvement of the road, people go out there, they actually do some farming. They also have access to start moving upland and build their structures.
We start building the house when the road was first constructed under the PACC project. And then when they start working on this, we start moving in, start building the house.
The project has also supported policy development in FSM, which subsequently became the first Pacific Island nation to pass a climate change law, known as the Climate Change Act.
In terms of the Act itself, we must structure in the climate proofing and climate change to be incorporated on all infrastructures that will be implemented in the state. We're talking about primary roads, secondary roads, bridges, and culverts.
When climate risk is explicitly considered and incorporated into policies, plans, and practice, development efforts are more resilient to climate uncertainty and more likely to reach their objectives. The replacement of this outdated bridge design at Tafensack is one of the first projects to proceed under the new law.
Before, there were no environmental impact statement were in place. So just last 2010, environmental impact statement was formulated that it is required that all the projects has to be compliant with the environmental impact statement. The main thing is for climate adaptation. Dealing with sea level rise, that's the main thing, and also the increasing of the rainfall. The design that they have been using, they were basing on the existing one, the IS tide mark. It's targeting over 80 years period for the sea level rise.
In 2011, PACC installed tide and rainfall gauges on Kosrae. These provide accurate local data on sea level and weather, enabling the inclusion of climate change in decision-making and future planning.
We are fortunate to have measuring equipments that we use to compare with our climate modelings that have been provided to us. We have a rain gauge, tide gauge, and radiation gauge actually installed. So when we get readings from the Pacific modelings, we use those to compare. That helps a lot with our engineer, the planners. Before they do a project, we need to also look at what tide we have in terms of the height. So currently we provide the tide table to the general public. So that's very helpful, not only for the project itself, but with our planning and engineering of a proposed project for Kosrae.
FSM is turning climate challenges into opportunities for national infrastructure development and policy enhancement. The knowledge gained in FSM is ready to share with the Pacific and the world.
I am so happy. I love it here. It's safer to be up here. To me, it's really safe. And after the road is put in place, it opened up easy access, and these sites are utilized or being used. There is a lot of small farming going on along this road.
Now people start understanding the impacts of climate change, what can they do in terms of their own adaptation options. So in terms of alleviating livelihoods, I think it really helps a lot because people now know that in order for them to safeguarding their own lives and resources and all that, people need to start moving up to the higher grounds. But we don't want to force people to move because sometimes when it comes to relocation, it's a very, very sensitive issue. So people learn by seeing things actually happening. And with the PACC project, we actually influence a lot of things in the last 4 years, like the mainstreaming climate change into the policy, and also the strategic development plan for FSM or for Kosrae actually factoring climate change. So we're looking at this kind of policy direction where people start to cope with it, to build resilience against all these climate change impacts.
PACC is working to help communities adapt to climate change with pilot sites in 14 Pacific Island nations. Supported by the United Nations Development Programme with funding from the Global Environment Facility's Special Climate Change Fund and additional funding from the Government of Australia. PACC is executed by the Secretariat of the Pacific Regional Environment Programme and supported by the United Nations Institute for Training and Research Climate Change Capacity Development Programme, exploring adaptation methods in 3 key areas. PACC is building resilience to climate change.